welcome to the showdown. We are going to be talking about where's the best place to work as a physiotherapist in Canada. Lots of great information to bring you along the way. I will start by introducing myself and go into who is here. My name is Caitlin. For those of you who don't know me, I run PT Exam Prep. Our main purpose is to help candidates prepare for and pass the licensing exams. I've said that a million times, but of course can't say it when I need to say it. Prepare for and pass the licensing exams. Our main thing is we help with courses. We have a proven track record of success. We're coming up on our 10th year of being in business, which seems crazy to me. And really one of the big things I just want to leave all you with is that there really is no need for textbooks. Just follow the step-by-step guide for studying. So that is my shameless plug here. I'm going to talk a little bit about who our competitors are here. So I've got some lovely photos up there. Ooh, I lost my screen. Can you still see the PowerPoint or the pictures? Yes, good. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to start off actually by introducing Aman. I'm going in backwards order here, but I have a really, really great connection with Aman because, crazy story, Aman was actually a past PT Exam Prep student of ours. That's how I got to know him. We have since stayed in contact. He runs our Edmonton face-to-face courses out there as well. So definitely not only a great clinic owner, but just a rad human in general. I have some cool things to share with him. So he did his schooling out of Manchester in England. He started his working as a physio with the soccer team, which is also pretty cool. He started clinic ownership at the age of 25. I feel like that's wild. How you even got through physio school and all times 25 is so wild. He's moved since I've known him, he has moved his team from 3 to 25, which also is incredible. And now has 2 locations. One of them is by the end of this monorail. There's a monorail.
LRT, yeah, LRT.
Didn't know that. And then the other clinic is where we run our courses out of. But yes, anyways, very excited to have Aman here. Lots of kind of, I would say, innovative ways that he's been running his clinic. So we will learn about that. All right. Next up is Laura. I still remember being in, I don't know, is there anyone here from UBC? We'll see in the chat box, but there is kind of like a gallery style classroom, not where all the plinth labs are, but there's kind of this like gallery style. And I still remember early days of me being at UBC and Laura came and she spoke about being a pediatric physio, running kids physio. And I know this seems wild because I definitely feel like women have just like boomed in business, but I remember being so inspired by her because all the clinics that I knew were run by men. They were run by, I could give a whole list of who I knew, but seeing her up there, she totally inspired me very early. So this feels like a very cool full circle moment to have you here, Laura. Very excited. So she's the founder, CEO and founder of Kids Physio Group, established the organization in 2006. That must feel like a long time ago, Laura.
Yeah, I was also 25. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you all are crazy.
Yeah.
So she definitely has a passion for helping children, helping them reach their physical potential. I know so many of our students have a passion for pediatric physio. So I'm really excited that she wanted to be here to chat. She did some experience previous to this in the public world and then saw that there was really this kind of crucial gap for trained pediatric physios, which pretty much drove her mission to ensure that kids had help. And that was her way of starting a fun physiotherapy clinic for Kids Physio. And she has now teams all across Canada. So that's a little bit about Laura. And then Jim, how do you have these weird connections with all of you? So Jim, I remember taking my Mulligan course with a long time ago. I think it was supposed to be Jack who was teaching it, and then you switched in and came and taught. And we were all like, oh my gosh, who's this? Because so many people knew, of Jack. And then you came in and I fell in love with Mulligan, fell in love with how you taught. Recently reconnected and I saw your name on the meeting list and I was like, yeah. I can't wait to learn from this guy again. So he is not only a great physio, but truly believes in a side of physio that I think is very much lacking in our world right now. And that is kind of the biopsychosocial mind, body, spirit, putting it all together. So Jim is a really cool role. He works within CBI, and he works on he's the national director of clinical development, but works on kind of bringing out this talent within the physiotherapy staff that's there. So I'm really excited to hear his kind of view, talk about his beliefs around kind of both personal development. I know you're big on that, as well as professional development. So thank you, all of you, for being here. That was far longer than I had in my Excel sheet of timings. So you're gonna have to pick it up here a little bit. I want to know a little bit about who is here, because I do feel like that helps all of us just to be able to understand, yeah, a little bit more about who you are. So I am going to launch a poll. You should see it just popped up into your screen, just trying to figure out who is joining us today. So are you in the credentialing process? Are you preparing for your written? Are you fully licensed, interested, or are you fully licensed and you're like, no, happy where I am? So I'll give you a sec to fill that out.
Caitlin, question for you. Do you have like a process where if someone is from like a different country and they want to find out more information about how to, go about becoming a physio in Canada, like, is there something that you have, or
Yeah.
anything along the lines of that?
Yes, yep. We definitely help students with their credentialing process as far as answering questions go. The CPR is kind of its own little beast and is specific for some people. If you say maybe like applied 10 years ago versus applied 8 years ago. So those ones, sometimes we have to defer, saying like, you got to go back and ask them. But anyone who's in the credentialing process in the last like 5 years, yeah, we're good. Okay, so looks like a lot of you are answering. This is great. So a little bit, can you see the summary of the polls there? Yeah. Okay. So it looks like the majority of you are preparing for your written exam, some for the clinical. We have some who are interested in other opportunities, and then some that are in the credentialing process. So that is awesome. Thank you for that. I'll share that there. Okay. And, oh, next to that. All right. The other thing that I wanted to ask is, which city are you joining us from? If you could type that in the chat box, that would be awesome. So just type it on in. Where are you joining us from? Lots of Toronto. So when I take a look on my Instagram of like where most people are viewing us from, Toronto is by far the biggest one. And then I think it goes Calgary, Vancouver, and then we start getting cities all over the world. So awesome. Interesting. Australia. What time is it in Australia right now? Actually, it's not that bad, is it? White Rock. Awesome. Okay. Great. So here's how today is going to work. So we do have some prizes that we are going to be giving away. The prizes are going to come, you'll have to kind of stick around to the end. Entering is really easy. You're just going to pretty much give us your name to enter, but we're going to go through that at the end. We have some prizes. You're going to get $1,000 to PT exam prep, $250 for the mock exam bundle. We have mock exam bundles for the written and clinical, $100 to Apple, and $50 to Amazon. Okay, so we are also going to do a cool prize, and I should say too, the prizes are all going to be given away on Instagram. I should be getting to that tomorrow. The cool prize that we're going to do here is for the most liked question. So you can see there's a place where you can type your questions in the Q&A box. If you like the question, please give it a thumbs up. The question that does get the most thumbs up, we are going to be giving a prize to. Alrighty. Last but not least, how is this going to work? So each speaker is going to have time to discuss the following topics. So they're going to do some introductions, talk about mentorship and growth, compensation, collaboration and culture, opportunities, and final statements. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to waste any more time talking. I want to dive right into it. So we are going to start with Jim giving us an introduction to CBI Health. So when you're ready, Jim.
Right. You've got slides here, right, Caitlin? So
for this one, we don't.
just the emblem. Gotcha. So yeah, CBI Health, certainly Jim Millard. Thanks everyone for taking the time. I'm in the candlelight in London, Ontario with one hell of a lightning storm. So If you lose me, I'll jump on in my phone, but I'm an old guy. It'll probably take me a minute to figure it out. But CBI Health, we're coast to coast, not in Newfoundland or Manitoba, but everywhere else. We're a big company, 2,000 strong PTs. And yeah, I think we've got a little bit of everything for you. So I'd love to lean into that a little bit more, but we're also multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. So we do a lot of work with, OT, mental health, psych, KINS as well on some of the program work we do. So you'll see us in the complex world doing long-term disability, lots of kind of workers, injured workers, motor vehicle accidents, as well as the acute sprained ankle world. And in hospitals too.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim. I'm going to throw it over to you, Laura.
Well, Caitlin, thank you so much for having me. And, just as an introduction, I saw a giant need for private pediatric physiotherapy services in a small part of Vancouver, in East Vancouver. And my original vision was to support kids in East Van. And as it turns out, I'm not the only person with a passion for pediatric physiotherapy. And I started attracting more folks to the private practice world. And in that process, what ended up happening was we had more people interested in having more clinics in more cities. And I moved very quickly from being the only physiotherapist to then the physiotherapist who had to learn an awful lot around business and business growth. And so I transitioned for a period of time away from clinical practice in order to become what I call a physiopreneur or a physio entrepreneur. And that journey took me through also raising a young family. And I'm now in a position of going back to clinical practice in a very different landscape where we have 18 locations across Canada. We are also coast to coast from Victoria to Halifax, and we're looking to continue to fill gaps within this country and potentially internationally in the future. But at this point, we are a Canadian company. We're growing within Canada, and we're really proud to be female-led, female-owned at the franchise level, and have one of the first Canadian franchise models for physiotherapy practices outside of Quebec. So we're really excited to see where we continue to grow. But thanks again for having me. I'm really excited to share a little bit more with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. And we'll head over to you, Aman.
Hey, Aman. I'm from Edmonton. I own Aspire Physiotherapy. Started probably about 9 years ago. And initially going through physio school, I had I did not want to get into business. I did not want to do any ownership. Somehow I ended up in ownership and ended up probably failing for probably the first 4 years. During the pandemic, it kind of gave me some time to sit down and figure things out if I wanted to kind of continue to stay in ownership or not. Started mapping kind of processes, operations, and post-pandemic just really realized how to run a clinic efficiently, get everyone on board. And just kind of post-pandemic, we grew to 25 and we're continually growing. So we're looking at a third clinic here pretty soon, but yeah, that's Aspire Physiotherapy.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. We're going to head into the next section here, and we're going to be talking about mentorship and growth. As a reminder, please do put your questions into the Q&A. Each of the presenters are going to have 3 minutes to explain why they think their clinic is the best at mentorship and growth opportunities. At the end, we are going to have 6 minutes for Q&A. So if you do have someone who you want to direct your question to, please make sure you include that. Otherwise, I'll kind of pick who the question is getting directed to. But we are going to start with Laura. So when you're ready.
Okay, well, on my slide here, you're going to see a highlight of our mentorship program. So very specifically talking about mentorship and growth. At Kids Physio Group, we truly have your back when it comes to being new to peds or to becoming a pediatric expert. Our extensive mentorship program and support system includes this mentorship program. On the left is the example of one module that we have. Our modules program is 8 modules in length, and it goes through from the start of your career, basically the 8 modules in pediatrics that we think that you should know in order to become a really talented physiotherapist within 8 months working in the pediatric population. We recognize that you don't learn an awful lot in school about working with kids. And so this is of utmost importance for us that we have a level set with all of the physios that are joining our team. That doesn't mean that you're a new grad. That means that you're just new to PEDS or new to our company as well. So everyone has an opportunity to go through this. You can head over to our website, kidsphysio.ca/education, to see a sneak peek of this. You get monthly case discussions. We talk about tips and tricks, all of which is also under the guidance of a clinical manager and a clinical coach. So you'll have these individuals who are supporting you throughout this journey. You can go to the next slide. I think I have 2 for this, Caitlin. We put a great emphasis on continuous learning. So we've had over 80, almost 90 physiotherapists from across Canada complete the mentorship program, which we only implemented sort of through COVID. This is something that was relatively new to our program. So we're pretty excited. We've got a big roster of people who've gone through it. So we've got lots of staff reviews about why this is such a great experience. One of the other things about being an employee at Kids Physio is that we put an emphasis on the continuation of learning. So once you completed that mentorship program, we've got other channels. We've got our clinical Slack channel where you can post a question, and you've got the trusted physiotherapists within the organization, not necessarily a pediatric Facebook group, which you might not know who's within that Facebook group, but we have our trusted pediatric physios all discussing what could possibly be going on with a tricky client. So it's not just somebody within your clinic who can help you, it's all of the hundreds of physios that are in, I think we're just over 100 now. I get to say hundreds, which is like mind blowing to me when I started out as one. We're dedicated to clinical excellence. We're always bringing fresh learning ideas forward. We've got our team that is bringing new learning ideas. And then we also do support with that process of getting licensed. So when we do have new physiotherapists that are joining, except in BC, because those BCs can't work under interim registration any longer, but when you are a resident physiotherapist at any of the other provinces, we've got practical exams that we're doing to support. We've got some dedicated study time in there, and certainly mentorship that supports those new physiotherapists to get through and pass with flying colors, in support also with PT exam prep, of course.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at your staff page, it's pretty cool because I see a lot of faces who have taken our program.
Yeah.
And even we were talking about this, we have some people that help us do our webinars for, say UT or U of T. And often those people are people who are working at Kids Physio. You hired good speakers and our program. Awesome. Okay, awesome. With 3 seconds to spare, we will head over to the next one. Thank you, Aman.
All right, so for our mentorship and growth, basically we start from when you hire. We sit down and chat kind of what your goals are, what you want to achieve, where you might have some needs to work on. But what we do is from the point where you're hired, we do 3 months of weekly one-on-ones where we discuss case reviews, assessments, treatment styles, how to have difficult conversations. We dive into a little bit of your metrics, numbers to see if there's growth. So we're looking at if you're putting to practice what we've gone through, just kind of on the non-practical side, just the communication side. And this is more of a collaborative approach. There used to be a mentality of, numbers being the old school boss and the employee, you have to hit these numbers, and aren't doing it. This is more of, hey, this is what your numbers are showing. This is where you might have room for growth. If you implement this and this, try it out, see what happens. And that way we can see if you're growing as a clinician. Also with these one-on-one sessions, we look at how to build rapport. Because I think a lot of therapists, in school, they teach you a certain amount, but they're missing some aspects of those soft skills. How to chat to patients, what to chat about, how to dive deeper into what their goals are as well. From the 3 to 6 month mark, based on how you do, how well things are going, we reduce those one-on-one meetings to twice a month. On the 1 year plus mark, we do more quarterly reviews. So we're looking at things on a quarterly basis, looking at your numbers the past 3 months, how they're changing, how they're moving. And if you need more support as well, that's there too. For the 2 to 3 year mark, you have the option of moving to a clinical director role. And the 3 year plus mark, we do have an option of ownership, which, we just opened up our second location a year ago. The individual on the far right, he's Troy. He actually went through this entire process and became an owner just a year ago. So we look at things such as management, buy-in from peers. Can you do projects, complete projects on time? And just understanding the metrics and understanding what they mean and how we can change them for success.
Sorry, I realized I had myself muted. Alrighty, pass it over to Jim.
Okay. Yeah, well, we do a lot. Being a big company, we've got the opportunity to maybe dive a little bit deeper. We do a lot of onboarding the first 3 months. So as you join us, we kind of support you through all aspects of that. Just getting competent, right? Like Aman said, it's a big jump from school to being out on the shop floor at work. And we support all aspects of that just to get you competent. And then we've got internal courses. We host external courses to kind of help you go from good to great. Like Caitlin said, I love to think of it as it's professional development is personal development, and we call it a practice, right? There's really I'll say a heart to the practice. And shout out to Aman too, because it's not just skill. When you look at the research, it's probably 2 parts care, 1 part skill, 1 part customer service that really drives. And people buy you guys, right? We're honored to be able to call you our colleagues. And we do this career building where you learn about yourself. You can't give away what you don't already have. And we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And habits are a system, and we really try to help you kind of grow habits. And don't think of it as what you're getting. Think about it as who you're becoming. So you learn about this emotional intelligence piece, and then you learn how to take it from me to we. Who's the client? We're in the people business, serving rehab. And you lean into empathy, connection, trust, all those invisibles that really create connection and really create that whole client journey, right? It's in the end of the day, people buy you, and we really support the practice part of it. Like I said, the habits that make the practice successful, and ultimately as well support technical skill along the whole way. So really try to package in this big process and kind of take you through this journey from onboarding, competent, from good, supported by internal courses, hosting external as well, and take you to this process of great, where then you get to lead out our clinics, be our kind of senior clinician, and help grow our company for the future as well. So that's my spiel there, Caitlin.
Okay, awesome. Alrighty, we are going to open up to questions here. It looks like there's lots of great questions coming in. So we are going to start at the very top with what are the main challenges while running your own clinical practice here in Canada? And I had a feeling that we were going to get some questions that weren't directed. So I've got my little names here, and we're going to give this one to Laura.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was in a different same time.
What are the main challenges while running your own clinical practice in Canada?
Oh, is there just one? This is going to be answered differently for every single one of the franchisees. So I think I can just speak to my clinics. I own a few of them. One of the greatest challenges, in my opinion, are people challenges. We work with people, we work for people, and having good systems in place is something that I've learned, and I think Jim just really speaks really nicely to this, is developing our people is what actually helps us manage any challenge that comes our way. I think from a business side of things, there's going to be business challenges like your lease and your landlord and your equipment breaking down and all that kind of stuff. But you, the owner, are not going to be able to be there every single time for all of these challenges. So for me, it was about developing leadership amongst my managers. It was about developing problem-solving abilities and people being able to answer their own questions or even the questions of clients coming our way. At Kids Physio, we work not just with the child. So if there's a problem coming from the child, but we're also working with their family. So not only do we have to be really good at working with kids, we also have to have great soft skills of working with parents. And many of the times our physiotherapists are not parents themselves. And so teaching folks to be able to have conversations with families is something that has been of utmost importance. So people challenges, but also personal development. People development is something that comes with a lot of work and time.
Yeah. Given that that was one of the biggest liked questions so far, Jim, Aman, do you want to add anything at all? I feel like people is going to be a big theme there for sure.
Yeah, like in the question again, Caitlin?
So
Just
what
so
are
I
the main challenges while
yeah.
running your own clinical practice?
Yeah, so I come from owning 9 clinics in London before I got hired by CBI, and we sold to a group called LifeMark. I was the younger partner. I had older partners, and like Laura said, sometimes you end up, instead of owning a business, you own a job. And there were many years that as an owner, I didn't make the most money because I had to clean up and I had to, put all the extra time in to help make things happen. COVID comes along and it's not easy. So shout out to Laura and Aman. If you made it through COVID, you're you know what this is all about, and you care. So what we've got a little bit different is you get to run your practice within our practice. So maybe the bigger company gets to handle some of the occupancy costs, the marketing costs, and let you go out and just focus on being a great physio. And probably at the end of the day, you might come out with the same in your pocket without maybe some of the worries as well. Mm, mm.
Mhm. Awesome. Okay. We have 2 more minutes left, so I'm going to go to the next question. Do you have any tips for writing our resumes? In the UK, we wrote personal statements to apply for jobs. So I'm currently having to write my first resume for a physio job. These questions are funny because they don't really have a lot to do with mentorship and growth, but hey, we're going to ride this train whatever way it takes us. So, does anyone want to answer that one instead of doing my little draw?
I'll just say be you, right? Listen, this is a wonderful time to be a physio. Wellness, it needs us. The country needs us. There's not enough of us. Like, if you don't apply to work for Laura, you're crazy. If you don't go work for Aman, you're crazy. They're on here for a reason. There are more than enough of us to go around. And that's how I look at it. Just tell us who you are, what you want to do, and the rest is just basically let's make it happen. So I think it's just tell us who you are, what kind of makes you wake up in the morning and why you got into this profession. That's what I want to hear, and that's what I love to kind of lean into on the interviews I do.
Mhm. Yeah, we get a lot of resumes sent our way, and I often get asked like, what can I do to make this better? And I think there is a little bit of a culture shift of what kind of resumes are looking like in Canada, if you will. Definitely like the beautiful Canva style. I don't know if you've seen those before, but it's not necessarily the fact that it's beautiful and pretty and put together. It's the fact that you're able to kind of put your personality into those things. And so I think sometimes that's a great way to get your foot in the door is if you can just look like you've gone through your resume, it makes sense. It doesn't have blatant errors. I think something that's really important for candidates to do is that if you are in this interim process, you put your expected dates for when you think you are going to either be able to be an intern or be fully licensed. That's important. At the end of the day, if you are taking on an intern, there are some different requirements for clinics. So it is nice to know like where in this process you are. I also would not be afraid to, it's 6 minutes up. I would not be afraid to apply early because you make these connections. There are ways that you can go and like find a clinic that's in your area, a kid's physio, and go shadow and put your foot in the door and see if you like it. And so don't be afraid if you like can't work for another year, still do apply, but clearly put that in your resume that you're, X months away from being able to work. Do you all agree with that? That's something that we tell them, but
Yeah, I think you said it yourself. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't do, put yourself out there, is just do a shadow shift. Like, it's just saying like, hey, do you mind if I just shadow you? I'm looking to work in whatever month. I'd love to see you inside a physio clinic. And that physio you shadow, it's great to have recommendation from them then. It's like, hey, you know, this person, they did well. They want me to pass your resume on. It's you're building a connection, because a resume is a resume, but if you actually go in person and put yourself out there, and even a lot of students, I always tell students to do the same thing. Just say, hey, can I shadow you for a day? Shadow shift, can I shadow here? It goes a long way.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. We are going to fly along and we are going to arguably one of the coolest and most complicated slides I have seen. So I can't wait for you to add some clarity to this slide, but talking about compensation, 3 minutes. Here you go.
So when I kind of put this slide out there, I know Caitlin said be very specific. So our compensation is basically, you know, we pay between 42 to 45% fee split. Most of our physios are contractors. Our lowest first year physio is 90K a year. Normally, our physios within their first year, they earn about 100K. Our highest earning PT, she was making 150K working 4 days a week with about 2 months of vacation. We do about 10% on product sales if you sell over 1,500 in 3 months. So you get that 10%, whatever it may be. For weekend shifts, we do have a higher compensation, so your percentage does go up. We also pay $250 to $500 for projects, presentations, programs, implementation of things. But that's kind of like the highest earners. That's the ones that are doing well. But this is kind of what we look for with our compensation, right? So what's your book to prescribe ratios? And this is what we look at when we want to move that for you from that 42, that 45%, or maybe even higher, where it's, you know, you book to prescribe. Are patients actually booking in? Are you recommending a certain amount of visits? Are they actually booking in those sessions? Your patient visit averages. So on average, how many times are you seeing a person per session? How utilized are you, right? Are you 77, 85, 90? What's your cancellation rate, right? So that plays in as well. How many times are people no-showing? So these are kind of what we look at. This all affects your compensation and how much you get paid. How much revenue are you bringing in, right? Because that directly ties in into, again, how much you make. So the percentage is one thing, but these are kind of like the figures and stats and numbers that we look at to actually make you more money. You know, I'm all for physios making as much money as they can, but at the same time, it has to be looked at these figures and changing them. Like I said, I mean, you could be on a 42%. We've had people on a 42% fee split making 120K a year, solely just kind of working with these figures and stats and numbers. So it looks complicated, I'm pretty sure, but this is kind of what affects your compensation, like these numbers, stats, your cancellation rate, utilization, no shows, things like that.
You still have 20 seconds. So I'm going to ask one question. How
Sure.
do you go through this information with them, like once a month, once every 6 weeks? Like
So I look at these figures, like, you know, this on like a monthly basis. So we look at these figures on a monthly basis. Like for example, this individual is trending up. They're doing pretty well. It's no cause for concern. So if it was few more red spots, red points, I might just be like, hey, pull someone aside, dive a little bit deeper into like what's going on. Why is that happening? Right? Is there something with they're saying or doing? Like we had one individual where we just figured out that she wasn't walking her patients to the front desk and reiterating her plan of care. Once we changed that and tweaked that, her numbers just skyrocketed. Right. It was like a completely different practitioner. So we try looking on a monthly basis. If someone's doing well, like, and all our practitioners, they have access to their own numbers. So yeah.
Okay, great. Next up, we have Jim. There you go.
Yeah, we're competitive coast to coast, and it's tough, right? Because I'm representing the country here, not one spot. But we're competitive from BC to Nova Scotia, and the splits will be, you're a little bit more regionally driven. It all depends too. If you're an employee, we can do a lot more for you on the training and development side. If you're an independent contractor, you know, when we had our clinics in London, we got audited, so I know all about. Sometimes there's a line there where you don't get education money. You're not supposed to get the same kind of treatment that than an employee would have, right? You've got to factor in benefits. That might be 7 to 10% added on top of the money. So there's so many variables in there. And, off the top of my head, from what I've seen, if you're a clinician, you've got to work your way up a little bit too. So if you do some program care, the company gets the work for you, right? If you're just jumping in and starting to build your practice more in an acute setting, that may just take you a little bit longer to wind up. So it might be safer to be an employee for a little while. And then if you've built your practice up and people are coming for you, you built a real good word of mouth loyalty practice. We used to say it took about 5 years. With social media and stuff now, you can go a lot quicker. We've had people start as employees, you get the safety, you've got money to pay back, and then you work your way up and you just say, hey, I want to be an independent contractor now. I'm running my practice within your practice, and we fully support that too. So there's so many different ways to slice this up, but I've seen people make upwards of 200,000, and in new grads kind of coming in the range of Aman talked about, 85, 90, 100. It just depends on what kind of work you do. But it's a process. It's not all about the money. It's about the journey.
Awesome. Thank you. And heading over to Laura. Here you are.
Yeah, so similar to Jim, we offer employment structures. So we moved away from the independent contractor model for the pure reason that I would not feel comfortable operating in a gray zone in the way that independent contractors are paid, and with the CRA, just wouldn't do it any longer as I grew my company. But I think on the flip side of that is that we saw this really beautiful change of being able to pour into our employees in a really authentic, meaningful way. And that looks like this sort of world-class support and mentorship. So really being able to promote and have folks understand the structure of what they're getting as being an employee at Kids Physio Group. So that pediatric mentorship program is not an additional cost to you. This is a very valuable mentorship plan and education that we're really excited to offer at no cost to our employees. This is a perk or a benefit. The regular in-services and clinical hub clubs and the DE&I sessions that we offer is something that adds to your employment. And then certainly, being either on a base plus commission or a commissioned employee model, we're able to pay out vacation. You get the benefit of having statutory holiday pay. In BC, you get 5 sick days. That's just law now. And then we're able to negotiate as a larger business great health benefits. In pediatrics, we're in competition with the hospitals and with the public health and hospitals have great benefits packages. So it was within our best interest to be able to offer compensation packages as well as health benefits so that our young female physios who are generally attracted to pediatrics, it's certainly not exclusive. We have men in our company as well, but we have a lot of women that are going on maternity leave, and being able to have paid into EI and have an opportunity to have health benefits for your family afterwards is something that has become increasingly valuable. And then on the other side of that is being able to host a real performance review. Having an annual performance review, but also a monthly one-to-one with your manager, where we can give you really great feedback, we can pour into you. That's something that as an employee is just going to continue to help you grow. In addition, we have these extra positions. So we are offering non-clinical positions, so being a clinical manager or a community engagement manager or a senior physiotherapist, where you get to actually do non-clinical, so not working with clients, but do more of the management. And then lastly, obviously, this opportunity to purchase your own franchise. So that's not necessarily on compensation, but if you work your way up within the company and you're now a clinical manager and you see yourself moving to another place and you want to bring Kids Physio with you, you have an opportunity to do that.
Laura, I feel like you must have a timer on because you felt those last 20 seconds coming in hot and just
I did.
right.
I thought about putting a timer on because I can ramble on at times, but I'm just trying to read the room and saw it. Yep, we're good.
You have what physios have. We have like a built-in internal timer that
Yes.
never leaves you.
No,
if someone wants to know how long half an hour is, I'm like, I got it on the dot. I feel it.
Mothers and fathers also know that clock.
Totally. Yeah, we go 2 seconds. 2 seconds just
Yeah.
there. That's great. Okay, so we're gonna dive into some questions now. I'm throwing a wrench in my own plan here, but I'm gonna ask some compensation-based questions. We can have some Q&A at the end for sure. I'm just gonna throw some random ones out here. Does Aspire provide health insurance and benefits?
No.
No. Okay. Is an RRSP a part of the benefits you provide for your employees? Laura shaking her head, yes. Jim?
Yeah, so after you're in, like after a performance review is something that's actually of potential choice. So we do a structure where, you know, depending on your performance review, you would have a certain number of credits to use, and those credits could be used towards something like a commission increase, or on the higher end of using all of your credits for something like RRSP matching, which is something I've had several of our employees take advantage of.
Awesome. Another question, do independent contractors get benefits like secondary insurance? I feel like we can kind of speak to the group. So my understanding is that as an independent contractor, those external benefits are what makes you a contractor, is that you don't get those things. Everyone, yes? Okay.
Yeah. And it's a gray area that, to be honest, because I've lived through it 33 years. Not as everything kind of slowly went from, my start was in the hospitals. That's where we all did everything, into out to the field. And I was still am part of the private practice division forever. So we would have our ear to the ground on this. And there is a little bit of a line there where, as an independent contractor, you have to jump through about 7 hoops. And if you get declared an employee, it just costs you some back pay, and same with the business. So that's what we're talking about, not to get on a big tangent, but you can't get benefits. You can't get paid education. There's other ways to grow. Doesn't mean not to work there. When I had our private practices like Aman, we had all independent contractors and we did great. So it's just whatever's best fit for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is one I'm gonna kind of ask you to put your calculation hats on. There's lots of questions in the Q&A around what's pay compared to how many patient hours that you're seeing per week. So I don't know if I can throw that over to each of you, but even if you could put that in the webinar chat, if you can maybe type in what the average physio makes per week, let's do that. And then, so we're all talking the same numbers. I think we should do this like, should we do it after tax? Because that's probably how you pay versus how Aman pays. So after tax, how much you would make in a week, and how many patient hours you're working to approximately get that. I put you all on the spot to do that.
So we have like a bit of a range, but generally, for example, that one practitioner that's just killing it, she works 1 to 7, Monday to Thursday, and she makes about, your take home, again, independent contractor, is about anywhere from like 12 grand a month to like 14 grand a month.
You're making me do math. Okay, so 6 times 4 is 24. So 24 hours per week, and then 12 grand per month. And is that after tax? That's before tax, I'm assuming.
Well, we just
only speaking before tax money.
or like, yeah.
Okay, so we'll just like take away 95% of that. No, I'm just kidding. So we'll just say before tax, divide that by 4, you're at about $4,000 per week before tax. Sounds about fair for 20.
Not great at math, but yeah.
You gave me some numbers. Okay, anyone else want to add some numbers?
That's tough. It's a tough question, right? Because there's so much to it.
Let's say as a new grad, like a new person.
Yeah, as a new grad, it depends what you're walking into. But if you're an employee, and I can say on average, probably you're going to make anywhere from 80 to 100 at CBI Health. Again, depending on what you want to work. If you want to work 40 hours, you make more than what you're going to make if you want to work 32 hours. So it's all relative just to how much you want to do. then where you live. If you're in Alberta, I don't think there's tax there on it. So there's so many variables here. And cost of living where it is and everything as well, if you take benefits off of it. So with me trying to get my calculator out, I can only really probably speak to that 80 to 100 grand range as you're first starting out. And then obviously you build from there as you build your practice.
Yeah, I'm going to echo that. It's just too difficult to do. But I think, as a new grad, in private pediatrics, if it was a brand new market, there's just so much to consider too. Like if you're joining our team and it's a new clinic, you can expect to make less than $85,000 a year because we're just growing our network as well. And you might not have the same referrals. But if you come and join a clinic, say in North Vancouver, where our referrals, we've been here for 10 years, we've got wait lists upon wait lists, you're going to be fully booked pretty quickly. So I think from that perspective, you really have to talk to the individual clinic owner about some of the historical stuff. And as an employee, start asking those questions in your interviews and before signing a contract, before signing a job offer, to get a better understanding of what your take home might look like.
I think money is a tough question for people, and across the board, when I get asked about clinics, it's top 3 questions for sure. It's, how much I'm going to make at this place, what's my fee split, and I do think that they're delicate questions to ask. Obviously, it's fair to know how much you're going to make, but if you had to recommend one question for someone you were interviewing to ask around money, what would it be? Do you want them to be blunt? Do you want them to, let me know. I mean, you go.
I think if you can figure out how many new assessments you get per week, you can kind of calculate how well you're doing. I mean, so if you get 5 to 7 new assessments per week, you should have a full caseload within 3 to 4 months. If your patient visit average, let's say if you go anywhere between, let's say 5 to 8 visits per client, I think that's a pretty key indicator about how well you'll do.
So your question would be, how many patients would I get?
How many new assessments will I get a week?
Good question.
Right? Because if it's 3, then that's going to take a lot longer to build. If you're, I think anywhere between 5 to 7 new assessments, if you're not doing well by month 3, month 4, I think you should probably look at, if you're doing something that can be improved on. But I think for me personally, when I, would look at a clinic, or if I was going into an interview, I would just want to know, well, again, assessments, like how is it distributed? How many will I get?
Okay, awesome. Anything to add to that, Jim?
Yeah, I would just add that at Kids Physio, I can speak to what we do. If somebody's asking for sort of projections of what it might look like, we have spreadsheets that are pre-populated that we can go through and actually show you, based on the province that you're in, a number of hours that you hope to be scheduled per week, and then what your commission percentage would start at. And then we're going to actually deduct some of those benefits. So whether you've got RSP matching in there, whether you've got health benefits, if you've got a health spending account that you've added on. And then we can look at, okay, if you were 30% booked because you are just starting out, or if you're 45, 50% booked, all the way up to 85% booked, 90% booked. And then we can kind of track what that looks like on an annual compensation, and then break it down more monthly or bi-monthly, because we are a bi-monthly payout for our employees. So we're happy to go through that with our employees ahead of time before they even sign an employment agreement.
Awesome. So just ask.
Just ask the question. We're very transparent with what that looks like.
Yeah.
Just ask, right? This is scary. I'm sure a lot of people aren't leaving school or are not coming to a new country without a little bit of debt. And to be an employee with us maybe is a bit safe at first, because you know what you're going to make. There's not that risk. If you're empty, you still make the same, right? And as you get full and drive your practice, you can always then switch over to a bit more of a fee for service, and then even into like a bit more of an independent situation if it works well. So it just buys you that little bit of insurance. And I talk to people, I coach a bunch of physios like outside of work too. And hey, I owned 9 practices. I can't afford to pay you 60% because I don't make it as an owner. So you know what? I'm not sure how realistic that is for us to really live on. And I'd say, well, I'd welcome you to say, okay, open your own practice up on the corner and see how, if you can pay people 60%. Like at the end of the day, it is a business, and you're going to run your business within a business, whether it's Laura's, whether it's Aman's, whether it's anywhere. But 60% of nothing's nothing, right? So you still have to look at how are patients getting in the door, what support you have for that, and what support you have to kind of grow your practice. Because I have seen a lot of people go for a big split and end up, having to switch after a bit because they didn't get the support to get the people in the door.
Mhm. Especially, I mean, let me know in the chat box, like how many of you trained abroad? Or I'm not gonna say trained abroad. How many of you are actually from a country, born in a country, raised in a country other than Canada? You type it in the chat box. Me, yes, something. I'm assuming we're going to see a ton of people say yes. And here's the thing, like, that's scary. You're coming to a country, you're coming to a city where you're kind of building all of these new routes. And a lot of these questions just don't get asked, right? And I think a lot of cultures don't kind of give you that strength to go and like ask some of these questions. So I think it's huge to hear from the three of these people here today saying, just ask. Like literally don't be afraid, ask those questions. Okay, we are going to go on to some fun topics now. We're going to talk about collaboration and culture. As we expected, we're running a little bit late, but do please stick around because we are going to have you enter for that giveaway. Heading over to Jim to talk about collaboration and culture.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say too, I mean, if you've got the guts to leave a country and come to a new one, like if we're not immigrants, we're the kids of immigrant. My mom came from Greece, and it's a privilege to have people have that drive and be able to do that. It amazes me. So, be proud of that. And we're lucky to kind of have you. For collaboration and culture, we're big, and we're also 10,000 strong on the home health side too. I didn't even bring that up. We're rehab and home health with a big physio chunk on home health. So we talk about, diversity and DEI across, meeting people where they are from a cultural perspective too. But collaboration wise, we're interdisciplinary. A lot of our program clinics, you work with an OT, you work with a psychologist, all on the same file, as opposed to multidisciplinary where I do my thing, you do your thing, right? You get an opportunity to really lean into that on our complex side. And culture is culture. I mean, culture at the end of the day is the individual clinic, right? A company can influence that, but your culture and how you show up to work and what it means and the positivity and the energy is going to be in that space. And you're a big driver to that. And you guys are the leaders of today. You're not the leaders of tomorrow. You don't have to wait in line. Get in and drive that culture. And just we're all leaders. And what we need you guys to make this profession run better. So that's what I'd say for us. We're big. So we've got all the boxes checked. We've got anything innovative, any committee you want to be involved in, any group. We've got it. So if anyone wants to go deeper on that, reach out to me, and I can kind of set you up and find what you're looking for.
Awesome. Okay, moving along. Here we go, Laura.
I love this topic, but in terms of collaboration, I can speak to the collaborative work environment that gets fostered from our clinics. Basically, kids physio is one or two things: just physio, just kids. So it opens us this huge wide net of people that we can connect with, other healthcare workers, allied health. Makes a lot of sense. Occupational therapists, speech language pathologists for our neurodivergent children, or people that we connect with all the time, but also coaches, teachers, other physiotherapists. The parents are a big one, right? So this is huge for us when we enter into a new market. Connecting with the community that's already supporting kids is exactly what we do. When it comes to culture at the company, we put a huge emphasis on this. We want our team to feel a part of our team before they've even signed their employment agreement. We want them to know that this is a big part of what we do, connecting as a group. So between lunch and learns or staff celebrations or shout outs on Slack or anything like that, our clinics are, our company has grown a lot, but each individual clinic has its own culture as well. So the connection that you have within your own team is one part, and then the connection that you have with the company at a greater level is another. Our clinic owners across the country are really connected because they get to meet together in person on an annual basis. And then in addition to all of those other levels in the company, so the clinical managers or the community engagement managers, they also are connected across the country. So we've had folks who have gone on vacation or back home to see family members. Somebody just recently from our Surrey location went back to visit family in Toronto, and they knew someone from the Toronto clinic because they had done one of the mentorship modules with them. And they went back and visited another colleague at a different location. That brings me a ton of joy, just knowing that there are relationships that are built, that physiotherapists are connecting at this level, and that they have trust built across the company. So culture, good vibes is everything in our organization. And to be honest, when you work with children, it's pretty easy to have a lot of fun at work. Yes, there's hard times and there's families that are also in difficult positions, but that also connects us and knits us together, that we're working with a vulnerable population, and our team can then sort of let loose and have a good time together and celebrate the fact that they're doing incredible work for a really great group of kids.
That's awesome. I love something that you said. I wrote it down. Connecting with the community that is already supporting kids. I love that. I feel like that needs to be like a tagline. That's so good. That's so good. And that just speaks to the culture. Okay, Caitlin, shut it. Here we go. There you go.
So in terms of collaboration, we're not as collaborative as Jim Alora. We're a smaller clinic. We have chiros, we have massage therapists that we work with, but it's mostly kind of like physios we focus on. In terms of culture, I always think it starts with leadership within the clinic, the owners, the managers. They're the ones that kind of like drive everything. Trust with your therapist, being open and clear communication. We do throw events with our staff. I think the basic things, and I think it's kind of interesting where it's not something we've actively worked on, but I find when everyone's doing well, when everyone's helping out, when we sit with our practitioners and show, how much ownership cares about everyone's success, it kind of transfers into all of our team members, right? So we all try to support each other. We all try to help each other. We even kind of like some of our physios who have been there for 2, 3, 5 years plus. They always try to lend a helping hand towards, other therapists. And that just kind of makes like the team bond feel a little bit closer. And yeah, it's become to a point where the managers don't even have to throw the parties. Like everyone else is just inviting everyone to events and collaboration. So I'd like to say I worked hard on it, but to be honest, I just feel like it's just naturally occurred. So yeah.
I like that. I want an invite the next time you do one of these beer pong tournaments, though, because I take you down. Okay, so awesome. Let's head on to some questions here. I was trying to go through and again keep it to this collaboration culture topic, but we're all over the place. Let's see. So everything is not on this topic. Okay, we're just going to go with the most voted ones, and we're going to do a 3-minute Q&A so we can move on to the final one. So Robert has a big question. Presenters, can you see the question in the Q&A box there? I'm going to read it, but it's a biggie. Okay. So is there commonly an increase in salary when one moves from a resident PT position to a fully licensed physio? The reason why I'm asking is once one obtains their full license, not much changes in my understanding, beside the ability to take courses, allowing you to enter the registry for rostered activities like dry needling, maybe spinal manips. Is it common to renegotiate after becoming fully licensed? So let's put that into kind of one big question is, does the money change once you become fully licensed?
Depends. It depends what you negotiated kind of coming in.
Oh, the most
Um,
classic physio answer ever.
no, it's not a fence sitting. I think at the end of the day, it's your negotiation. And why shouldn't you benefit if you're able to bring more to the clinic? Why shouldn't you benefit from that? So I'm not sure of the time frame. It's if, hey, I'm on probation until there's some variables with that. But yeah, like definitely after that first year, you should be having the conversation about how things look different to you within your own goals too, and compensation fully being one of those. Good question.
Mm-hmm. It's a good one.
Yeah, I think at some of our clinics, we have just a natural 1% commission increase that happens when you become fully licensed. That's written in your employment agreement ahead of time. It's something that you would know before, again. But I don't think that's consistent across Canada. So I know that it's something that some of the clinics have used, just to make sure that if somebody doesn't pass, and they're part of that longer term, we have to continue to support you while you're still under residency, then the clinic is perhaps investing a little bit more into your education and support of you during that time.
I recommend before you take a course to go and talk to whoever your manager is or your leader and pitch it. Pitch why this course is going to help you be a better physio, be a better worker, bring more, information to your team. Like, show how this is going to help, and then say, "This is what I'm looking for from it." I feel like 1% is often kind of like the common go-to when you are doing what I'll call like a markable or like a true growth course. You're not just doing like a one-day online thing, but maybe you're doing a Mulligan's course, or maybe you are doing acupuncture or dry needling, something that's really going to kind of bring in different patients. You're going to help build your toolkit. Go talk to your leader and see, what they can do.
Yeah, we'd love to support you on that, right? That's your personal development plan, and your growth's our growth. Let's be honest. You do well, the company does well, no matter where you work. So we would be silly not to invest in you. Now, coming back to what Aman said, though, there's still what maybe is called key performance indicators. I'll call them key practice indicators. I only took the job if they changed that term. So now we call it key practice indicators. So at the end of the day, we still want to see your practice growing because we want to support you to have that happen. And sometimes the increases will be based around that because we meet in the middle on that.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to fly into the last section here. This one's going to be a little bit quicker, 2 minutes on the board for each of you. We are going to start with Laura for this one.
Whew, 2 minutes. Okay. Locations. Go to our website. We have 19 clinics across 6 locations and counting. We're looking at opening several more in the next couple of years. We've got another one opening at the end of this year, and then hopefully 2 or 3 more next year, but that can change when we have folks that are applying for franchises. We're pretty excited because we started this company in British Columbia, that's where our largest presence is. So, Metro Vancouver, we're on Vancouver Island, up in Comox even, Victoria. We just have 1 location in the interior of British Columbia, but we're really hoping to continue to grow there. Southern Ontario, we have a scattering of clinics in Toronto as well as Hamilton and Oakville. And then we're in our prairies as well. We opened in Saskatoon and Winnipeg not too long ago, and then we're out in Halifax. So it is so wonderful to me that we have team members that have been physiotherapists. They see a need and they put up their hand and say, I love what's happening here, and I want to become a clinic owner of my own in the town that I am living in. And that's exactly what happened when we actually entered into Quebec. We had a physiotherapist from our Surrey clinic who was moving back to Montreal. And yes, we translated our entire business to French. and we are operating our first French-speaking location in Montreal. So there is a lot of opportunity when it comes to growth. If you're entrepreneurial and you're interested in growth, that's not all we do, though. I have to speak to that because it's certainly something that if you are entrepreneurial yourself and you see yourself potentially becoming a clinic owner, that's a pathway that we can definitely support in. But at the end of the day, our physiotherapists are what make up this company, and we're dedicated in providing the best pediatric physiotherapy care in a private setting in this country. And we make physio fun. It's our trademark hashtag.
Textbook. Okay. Moving along. Oh, 2 minutes.
All right, so we have 2 locations in Edmonton, Alberta. But another reason to come is because we have the best hockey team in the world.
Sorry.
And the best
not
hockey
funny?
player in the world. We are kind of north, so it is a little bit cold. It does get a little bit chilly here. We've had the biggest interprovincial migration for the past year, maybe 2 years potentially. And lastly, it's the most affordable, I think at the moment, it's the most affordable city in Canada. So you can make good money, you can have money to spend on vacation, you can watch Connor McDavid play. So yeah, that's Edmonton for you.
Thanks. Saving me a minute with that one. All right. Shooting over to you, Jim. You have 2 slides here, but you're probably just going to talk and I will flip it as I think it's needed.
No worries. Yeah, it's all about our purpose, promise, and values, right? And we can find something for you coast to coast. And again, it's all about knowing yourself, growing yourself. Like these guys said, we're in the people business, serving rehab. If I had to do this all over again, I would be a physio. I get to go to work at 7 in the morning. These guys, I am so proud of Laura and Aman. This just tickles me to see people opening clinics and growing. You'd be crazy not to work there. And with CBI, we can find a fit for you. And I'm really passionate. The company's really passionate on making it a journey, right? Making it a journey and helping people get better. And you get to do that every day. It's good for our health. You get to serve. And like Laura said, you go to the grocery store and people say, that's my physio. And it feels damn good to grow with the community. So if you're looking for a place to grow, think about us. It's a big company, but again, at the end of the day, it's small locations and you're part of a team, and we're here to support that growth. So I'd love to talk to you if you're interested in that. And thank you for just showing up here today. And thank you, Caitlin, for putting this on. So I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to head into the last few minutes of questions here, but I am going to do 2 things just so those of you who want to leave can. So first of all, I am going to ask you a question, and the question is going to be, if you had to send your resume to one of these 3 places, where are you going to send it? So I am going to throw a question up onto your screen just for fun. But if you had to pick, where would you send it over to? I'm also going to let you know how to enter into the draw. So we will be posting the winners tomorrow on our Instagram. So make sure you are checking there. I am going to put one more poll up into your screen after this. It's going to ask for your name and your email address, I think. And that is it. That's all we're going to be asking for. So I'm going to end that poll there. I'm going to put one more question up onto your screen. I'm also getting you to pick a number. That's it. So you're going to give me, do you want to be entered in the draw? Yes, no. What's your first name, last name, email address, and then pick a number between 1 and 500. Put it in there, and that way you are entered in for the draw. Okay, I am going to be asking the most upvoted questions. So we'll be starting with the top one. This is interesting, Jim. You've tickled a lot of people's ears with this one. So hi, Jim. How does CBI work inside hospitals? Is it a private clinic subsidy by public health?
Depends which province. And So reach out to me. And what happens, we've got clinics and hospitals. So depending on where it is, it's a lot of post-op. You could be doing like assessments for injured workers. So there's a range of opportunities and likely to grow.
Awesome. Okay. For those aspiring to put their own or to start, I think is what they're meaning to say, start their own clinic, what advice would you give them as a start? I am going to direct this question to Aman.
I think, I mean, like a lot of times, so I started from scratch. I didn't really, I kind of went from like pro soccer, worked a year in Fort Mac, and then opened up. But I think just kind of have a good, like work in a clinic that has great mentorship, so you actually understand how to run a clinic. I think that's the biggest thing, or have a support system. Um, there's a lot of groups you can join as well nowadays. Because I know when I started, there was nothing out there, like there was no business knowledge. Um, but yeah, I would just say like befriend some owners, talk to owners, and find out what the struggles are, or what you should be looking at, or jump on a franchise. That's always an option as well. So that would be my best piece of advice is like talk, network, find what the pitfalls are, find what the issues are, and then decide if it's right for you.
Mhm. I think a lot of people, when they get into this world, are shocked to find out that you can definitely make very, very good money just working as a physio, and you don't need all the other kind of added responsibilities. So yeah, I think that's really, really good advice for sure. Okay, I'm going to send this question over to you, Laura. What qualities do you look for when hiring new physios?
We love to know your experience with children, because if you have experience prior to becoming a physiotherapist working with kids, somebody that I recently just interviewed had backcountry canoe experience with overnight camp for girls in Ontario, at the lakes in Ontario. She was running an entire camp of young girls. Right away, leadership qualities, obviously loves working with kids, problem solving ability. Like, I want to know about why you love kids. We can teach some of those skills, but I really want to know what lights you up, because kids are a tough bunch sometimes. But if you have a genuine love for working with children, I like to think that if you thought you might become a kindergarten teacher one time, you might be really well suited for pediatric physiotherapy. Also, if you were a young athlete yourself who was injured in your sport, oftentimes that lends you to being a great physiotherapist for kids. And then the other one, if you have a sibling or you had a really good friend who had an accident, who needed physiotherapy as a young child in a setting that you're like, I think this could be better. Those are excellent peds physios for us too. So there's a lot of different things that make up an excellent candidate. But right away, if you love kids or you have great experience with children, we'd love to hear about that.
That's awesome. I think something that's really important for everyone here to hear is the fact that each of these three believe in the human side of this. They believe in the person that is applying. Do you notice, like, not one of them has said, "Oh, I want to see you do a joint mob. Oh, I want to see you, do this certain skill," right? I saw this reel, and maybe it's just because I have like two kids in hockey, but it was these coaches, and they were sitting around a table and they were trying to figure out which kids they were going to pick for the team. And the kind of joke or the take home of the reel was like, I can teach hockey. I can't teach you how to not be an annoying parent. And to kind of bring that back to here, it's like, be yourself, be likable, be who you are, and show that, right? The skills, don't worry about. So many people get so nervous to apply for places because they're just worried that they don't have, a perfect handling skill. These are leaders who can teach that, who have people in place who can help you with that. Just get your name out there and just try, right? Okay, let's do one more question. I hear my crazy kids coming in, so it's about to get loud in here. I do apologize. Let's go on to all these. Oh, does that, you guys can't see them? You don't see them? let's end it with a question around what do you consider to be one of the successes that you look back and you would change about your journey? Successes? At what point did you look at your business and consider, oh, I'm saying it wrong. At what point did you look at your business and consider it a success? And what would you change about your business journey if you could go back? Anyone want to take that? Get to be the last person to talk. No one? No one?
Well, it's different for me because I'm in a big company, right? But so I'll give it to these guys. I lived that, own my own clinic for over 20 years. And just to be that community physio and to watch 4 generations. I saw 4 generations of a family. I'm going to tear up. And I was their physio. You can't beat that.
Mhm.
Can you repeat the question again? What was
I'm
it?
changing the question, okay? Let's say, why for you, from your point of view, why is being a physio in Canada just the best? Because I truly believe that. If you have come to webinars with me before, you'll hear me leaving saying, and I get emotional when I say this to you, Jim, but I am a walking marshmallow. But I just say, I am so lucky to get to do what I do, to help people become physios in Canada. And now today, this is like a dream for me to close this gap, right? I get people to become physios. I can do that. I'm good at that. But I don't have a great finger on the pulse of how to get you into great clinics. I see people go to clinics all the time that aren't great because arguably everyone is kind of hiring. So it is my new passion to help people find clinics that are going to support them because I genuinely think there's no better profession in Canada. So if you have anything to support why you think Canada physio is the best profession in Canada, add that in and we'll end on that.
I mean, I think it's just like the job itself, right? You're not sitting at a desk. It's pretty well paid. You can do as well as you want. You have the opportunity to take time off, and it's just like a fun environment to work in, right? You're communicating with people. You're communicating with people that you work with. And honestly, physios in general, they're just like a very supportive, fun group of people in general. So it's like a fun work environment. Um, so yeah, that's what I think.
Laura,
Get
you
to
got
change.
something.
For me, we have a bunch of Slack channels, but one of my favorite ones is the Things Kids Say Slack channel. And so we document some of these fun things. But one recently, when we opened the Winnipeg clinic, I happened to be present at, and this child came out of their session and the front desk admin said, how was everything? And we were sort of directing that question to the parent, I think at that point, but the child was just like, it was everything I could have dreamed of. And you can't make that stuff up. He genuinely was happy with his physiotherapy. And we get to hear these things come out of kids' mouths. Sometimes they're inappropriate and funny, but sometimes they're incredibly heartwarming. And to have a job and a position that our physiotherapists and our directors and our owners get to say, we make an impact on the lives of kids, that's pretty awesome.
Change lives. That's just friggin' amazing, Laura. We get to be witness. We get to help people get their life back. This is one of the top 5 happiest professions rated all the time. You guys are going to love it. Thank you for doing it. We're better for you. You get to change lives. What else can you ask for?
All right. Well, I want to thank the speakers so much for coming. One of the things that our team talked about doing at the end of this was we get sent resumes all the time. And oftentimes we are just kind of shooting back, just like, oh, you need to fix this, or this isn't, do this and this. So what we've decided to do is we said until the middle of September, we are bringing on a little bit of support to help you with your resumes. So to help edit them, be a proofreader for you, please send them over to the best of your ability and then let us be that extra for you. But we are setting the date until September 14th. If you want to send your resume our way, if you want to let us know who you want to send it to, we will definitely help you kind of fine tune and finesse it. just as kind of a way, as I said, to really make sure that I'm doing my job, helping you prep, but then really doing that final piece and helping you find a good home to land and build your skills as a physio and build your life as a physio. So thank you so much to all of you for joining me. This was something that I have wanted to do for a very, very long time. It means a lot to me that the three of you stepped up to this opportunity and agreed to do something with such an aggressive name like the Showdown. Hopefully you had fun too. Yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, everyone.